Buffalo Sabres were on the ice for practice, day one of training camp. All that happened, Lindy Ruff talking about it. Alex Tuch, Tage Thompson had some interesting things to say as well. That's all coming up here on the Locked On Sabres podcast.
Your Locked On Sabres, your daily podcast on the Buffalo Sabres. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Sabres fans, and welcome into today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast. Thanks, as always, for making us your first listen every day and making us a part of your days. We get prepared for the hockey season here. You can catch us wherever you listen to your podcast. If you are interested in watching the show, that is available to you on our YouTube channel. If you don't know where to find it, just go to YouTube, search Locked On Sabres, and you can find us there. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you would like to get more involved with the show, you got a comment or you got a question and you want to reach out, have it answered on the text club or on the show, you can head over to the text club. If you're not already a subscriber, join subtext.com/LockedOnSabres is the place where you can do that. Sneaky Joe DiBiase here on a Thursday, a Bills game day, but we are getting closer and closer to a Sabres preseason game day. So we got a lot to talk about today on the show. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app right now or visit FanDuel.com. Win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Sneaky Joe DiBiase today on Alex Tuch, his contract situation. I actually have a new way of thinking about Tuch's contract. I like to sometimes take a contract negotiation and approach it from the player's end of things. And when I did that today, I thought of a new possibility that Tuch and the Sabres could reach with all this contract stuff and the new cap situations and whatnot going on. Tage Thompson set some interesting goals for himself today, and we heard him talk about that, so I want to get to that. And then Lindy Ruff's comments as well. Lindy, stay tuned in the second segment. Yesterday, talked a little bit about what spot might be opened up, who could jump into the lineup with the Jordan Greenway injury. And we talked about Noah Ostlund, or we talked about, Brett Murray even from Rochester, or Konsta Helenius, or Justin Danforth just getting plugged in to the fourth line. There's a name that might be pretty unfamiliar to Sabre fans, a veteran that they signed in the offseason that Lindy Ruff talked about today, and I perked up on, oh, wait a minute. Is that the guy that Lindy has his sights set on to be in the lineup? We'll get to that player coming up in a little bit on today's show. But I did want to start things off by just kind of recapping what happened on the ice, and then we'll get to what Tuch said. Because what happened on the ice, there's really not much for me to grab onto and evaluate. We didn't get line combinations today. We didn't get what power play units looked like today. The Sabres didn't even practice with pucks. So it almost wasn't even like a real practice. It was more of a conditioning session by the Buffalo Sabres. So there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, Lindy Ruff did tell us on Wednesday that this was going to be a very hard training camp. He was going to ride these players. And it sounded like they were going to put in a lot of hard work in the first couple of weeks. There was mention by Kevin Adams and Lindy of some sort of team bonding retreat or experience. Like maybe they're going to go away somewhere for a couple days at the end of camp before the season, after they've put in all this really hard work. And it sounded like they did that today. A lot of skating, a lot of competitive drills. The pucks did finally arrive. It was funny. Paul Hamilton from WGR, a coworker WGR, tweeted out at some point in the middle of practice, the pucks have arrived. And that was the whole tweet. And I thought that was funny at the time. I knew what Paul meant. I think everyone knew what Paul meant. Most people, they're like, oh, well, they just wanted to do half the practice maybe without pucks, and then maybe they introduce them later for different drills. But when he tweeted it, it kind of read like, oh, somebody forgot the pucks at practice. And they had to practice without them for 30 minutes because, Billy left them at home and he's got to go drive home and get them. That is not the case. But I did see some jokes being made like, of course, if there was a team that was going to forget pucks for the first practice of the season, that it would be the Buffalo Sabres. But that's not what happened. I mean, it was more about the conditioning part of it. But, low-hanging fruit. It's easy to make fun of this team when they have this playoff drought. So They practiced hard. Again, nothing really else to tell. Lindy liked the practice. He liked their competitive effort in it. So the coach seemed happy with it, and take him at his word for that. Now, we'll get more to about what Lindy said a little bit later on. I want to get to Alex Tuch today because day one of camp, and I've said this throughout the summer, and it was true, that if he doesn't have a contract by training camp, it will be the first thing he's asked about. And I wonder how often he'll get the question once he's here. And sure enough, it was the first question, and it was the second question, and it was the third question. I don't think there's any problem with that. Tuch, I don't think, is somebody that is distracted by this. I don't actually think, and anytime you hear it said in sports that, hey, is it good to sign your deal before you get there because it could be a distraction for the team? I don't ever believe that those situations are ever actually distractions for the team. These guys are professionals. They all go through it. They all want their teammates to cash in and get the most money that they can. They want them to do well for themselves. The only time in sports you ever see it get to a point where it's a distraction, like it's got to get really ugly. Like it's got to get the way it happened with Micah Parsons with the Dallas Cowboys, where the owner is getting involved and him and the player are having a back and forth in the media. Like, it has got to be ugly. And the Alex Tuch situation is not even 1% of that right now, I don't believe. So if anyone calls it a distraction, I don't think it's a distraction at all. And I think Tage Thompson spoke to that today. Thompson, I mean, he mentioned like he lives across the street from Alex Tuch. And he's like, yeah, he's kept it close to the vest. Like, we talk every day, all the time, and it doesn't really come up. It's not really a thing. He's rooting for his teammate to get a deal. He wants him to be around for a long time, I'm sure, but it's not a distraction. The thing that was more interesting to me about Alex Tuch today was he's talking and he's being asked about it. And, he's saying some of the same things that we heard from Kevin Adams yesterday. But Tuch today putting a little bit of voice to talking about the market. And he said he would love to be here long term. And then he said, this was a quote, that we're taking our time. The market is shifting, seeing how everything plays out, but it's been good, productive talks. Tuch talking about the market shifting and kind of waiting on other big deals. That's the McDavid deal. That's the Jack Eichel deal in Vegas. That's the Kaprizov deal in Minnesota. Like, we are waiting on big monster contracts by superstar players in the league to kind of set the pace here. And it sounds like the Tuch deal, or at least Tuch might be wanting to wait until that is all over. And I heard that and I thought, well, let me take this from Tuch's perspective. If I'm Tuch's agent, what would I be pushing for? And I have a new idea on that if I were Tuch. And I wonder if this is where the Sabres and Tuch ultimately end up, because it makes enough sense for both sides where it could actually happen. And it's really all about the cap going up. This year, the cap went up to $95 million. That was a big jump. But next year, it goes up even higher to $104 million. And then the following year, $113 million. I mean, we're talking about a $25 million increase in the salary cap in just a couple of years. It's exploding because they're finally getting this revenue in after COVID ends. And the cap had been flat for a long time while they recovered from that, but they're back on their way up. So here's what I thought. If I'm Alex Tuch, Pierre LeBrun said that some of those big names like McDavid, they might sign 2-3-year deals to, one, see if their own team can stay competitive, and two, the cap's going to go up. So if you sign an 8-year deal, you lock yourself into a lower number, you renegotiate in 2 years, and you trust that you're still going to be a great player, you could cash in. And for a guy like Connor McDavid, who's only 28 years old, 2-year deal, I mean, there's not much risk if you're Connor McDavid. Like, you pretty much know you're going to be a great player still in 2 years. Now, what about with Alex Tuch? The idea of a shorter-term contract for Tuch. Because whenever we talk about an extension, it's always in the frame of a 7 or an 8-year deal. What about, let's reset here. What about a 1-year deal? What about a 1-year deal? I think McDavid, Eichel, Kaprizov, they wanted to sign 2-3-year deals. That makes more sense. They're a little bit younger and they're better players. Tuch, little bit different because he's 30. He's going to be 30 coming up here really soon. he probably doesn't have the luxury of signing a 2 or a 3-year deal. Little more risky for him. I still think he'll be a great player in 2 years, but you're a couple years older than all those other guys. You're not quite the same level as McDavid or Kaprizov, or excuse me, Eichel, Kaprizov. You're nowhere near what McDavid is as a player. So there's a little bit more risk of a decline and maybe missing out on that big contract if you put it off too long. But what about a 1-year deal? A 1-year deal. I think if I were Alex Tuch and I was really sitting down and figuring out what I wanted to do, the cap exploding, I think what I would be doing with the Sabres is I would go into that office with Kevin Adams and my agent, and I would say, what I want to do is I don't want to even talk. I almost don't even want to talk in terms of salary and cap hits. I want to do it by percentage of the cap. That's what I want to do. It's the fairest way to do it, given that the cap is so different than when all the other Sabre players, core members, signed their deals. When Tage Thompson signed his contract, the cap was at $82.5 million. When Dahlin and Power signed, it was at $83.5 million, almost the same. When Tuch signs his extension, it will be above $100 million. Or when the first year it kicks in, it will be above $100 million. And then the following year, it'll be $113. It will be $30 million higher than when the other Sabres core members signed their deal. So what I want to do is I don't want to use $7.2 million that Tage makes as a frame of reference, as a comparison. I want to use the number he signed that was the percentage of the cap as the percentage. That's the way that Tuch should be doing it, and I bet the Sabres probably would do the same. It's only fair. When Tage signed his deal with the Sabres, it was 8.6% of the cap, and it ended up at that $7.2 million cap hit. If Tuch were to sign today for a deal that in the first year of the deal, which is next season, would be 8.6% of the cap, that would be an $8.9 million deal for Alex Tuch. That doesn't sound that unreasonable. That sounds very possible. Now, will that be the number he uses, or will he say, hey, you signed Tage to that deal after only one good year? I've had more than one good year. I want the percentage of the cap number that Owen Power got. Owen Power got exactly 10% of the cap when he signed, $8.3 million. Next year, what's 10% of the cap? $10.4 million. $10.4 million. And I don't even want to do that if I'm Alex Tuch. This is why I would say, let me sign a 1-year deal. Because I want an extra year to really figure out if this team can be competitive. That's a part of this too, is not only, hey, I want to be here long term. Maybe I don't know if you'll be competitive by next year. I'll give you 2 years. 2 years to show me that this team can be competitive, that they can be a winner, and know that I'm not signing up for a loser for the rest of my career. So I'll give you an extra year. You give me what we'll figure out that money. Like you want to sign into an $8 million deal for 1 year, whatever. Because in a year, when the cap is $113 million, I'm coming for the 10% of the cap, which is going to be $11.3 million. And that's the area that I'm looking for if I'm Alex Tuch. So sure, that's an aggressive way to look at it, but all these teams that have salary cap space around the league, they're going to want to spend it. And at the moment, they have nobody to spend it on. They've got players under contract. Sabres got Tage Thompson under contract for $7.2 million going into these giant cap figures. Like that's a bargain. So $11.3 million. Like that sounds nuts, right? That's Dahlin money, but it really isn't. But if you go by percentage, it's not. And I think that type of thinking, depending on how aggressive Tuch wants to be in this, that type of thinking could lead Tuch into a shorter term contract, kind of like some of those superstars are about to get. So interesting possibility. I wonder if that's on the table at all, but we'll see how it goes. When we come back, what Lindy Ruff had to say, and one player that he talked about today that I have not thought about for the opening night roster at all, but maybe there's a chance. Get to that player when we come back here in the Locked On Sabres podcast. Today's episode of Locked On Sabres is presented by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have that full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch is built for people that have busy lives. If you've put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. So don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. Again, that's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNHL. Sneaky Joe DiBiase back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. The Sabres on the ice for practice. Lindy Ruff talking to the media afterwards. And it was mostly the NHL roster that was all together in the early session. And then a lot of the AHL guys thereafter. And one guy that I had not been thinking about for that NHL group that might be a name that you are unfamiliar with. He's honestly a name that I think I mentioned when they signed him just in passing, but never talked about him as being like, I don't know if we've talked about him since. That player is Mason Geersten. Mason Geersten was with Team Blue with, again, if you look at the training camp roster, I'll put it up on our stream here for our YouTube watchers. Look at Team Blue. Team Blue is all NHL guys. Zach Benson, Justin Danforth, Josh Doan, Peyton Krebs, Yuri Kulik, Beck Malenstein, Ryan McLeod, Josh Norris, Jack Quinn, Tage Thompson, Jason Zucker, and Mason Geersten. Meanwhile, Team White, look who you start getting into. Josh Dunn, AHL. Consta Hellenius, AHL. Riley Fiddler Schultz, AHL. Tyson Kozak, AHL. You get the point. It's all AHL guys on Team White. And then Team Gold. Team Gold is more even prospect guys and also ECHL. Team Blue is the NHL guys, and that's where Mason Geersten is. So quickly, who is Mason Geersten? Because Lindy Ruff also spent some time talking about him today, about his physicality. He called him today, and this is what he is, but Lindy said he's an enforcer. He's a big guy. He's an enforcer. And Lindy had him in New Jersey. Geersten is a guy that is gonna fight. Like that's kind of the thing here. 25 games played, 77 penalty minutes, 0 points in 2021-22 with the New Jersey Devils. Otherwise, he's been a career AHL guy, and he's not putting up points in the AHL either. This is a fighter. This is a dinosaur type of player that hardly exists in the NHL anymore, and if they do, they play very little. When he played for the Devils, I mean, in those 25 games a few years ago, he averaged less than 7 minutes a night. Like, we're talking about a couple of shifts here and there. It's the old school nuclear deterrent on the bench. You better not run our star players because we got Geersten over there and he'll come out and kick your ass. That is who this guy is. He, by the way, kind of similar to like when John Scott was in the NHL. John Scott was like a goon. Like he would play defense, he would play forward, whatever. That's Geersten. He's a natural defenseman, but Lindy used him at forward when he was in New Jersey, and he's been playing. He was at forward at practice. So that's a guy that, think about right now the idea of him making the team, because that was surprising to me that he was up high. A part of that too is Jordan Greenway, physicality, size. Greenway is a real NHL player, and that's a big difference here, but maybe that's what they're searching for with Geersten. Like, hey, we lost a big guy. We lost strength. We lost intimidation, and we got to have something like that on our team. So the guy that will replace Greenway isn't going to be some scrawny 19-year-old Noah Ostlund who weighs 160 pounds soaking wet. No, we're putting this dude out there. Big guy, 30 years old, fighter. He's, again, like, it's a possibility. I am not supportive of it. Like, players like that don't exist in the league anymore for a reason. When he's on the ice, even if it's only for 6 minutes, he's gonna get destroyed out there. And sure, after the whistle, it'll be fun, and they'll beat a couple of guys up. But in terms of giving them any value on the ice, I do not see that. So, not a fan of Geersten as an idea for the Buffalo Sabres. If you're looking in these preseason games, he's going to be wearing number 55. So start thinking about him as an idea for the Buffalo Sabres. When we come back, Tage Thompson also speaking today. A couple of goals that Thompson set for himself that are interesting that I want to get to when we come back. Today's episode of the Locked On Sabres podcast presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL season is here. Big game tonight. FanDuel's making sure that you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Love using FanDuel. Tonight, you're going to have a lot of fun with it. Tonight, our show here on mornings at WGR, we do a parlay every Thursday, and today we decided in the parlay, Jackson Hawes, third-string tight end of the Buffalo Bills, to score the last touchdown of the game. That's a great fun bet, right? Because it's live the whole night. And if your guy scores a touchdown in the third quarter, then you're hard rooting for teams not to score a touchdown in the fourth quarter. And if he hasn't scored, you're always alive for a bet like that, which makes it a really fun bet to throw in. So Jackson Hawes, last touchdown bet is something that I'm on for tonight. Makes every game more exciting. It's quick. It's easy. Best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays. So are you ready to play? Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app, maybe on a Jackson Hawes last touchdown score prop. So if you're ready, download the FanDuel app right now. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. It's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet today. Thank you, Joe DiBiase, back here on the Locked On Sabres podcast. Getting back into hockey season here, and the Sabres were on the ice. Tage Thompson spoke to the media after practice, and I think there's one goal everybody knows about Tage, and that is that he badly wants to be on Team USA at the Olympics, and that he was not happy to not make the Four Nations team last year. I wasn't happy he didn't make it. He absolutely deserved it, and Every time it comes up, I just got to say it. Bill Guerin is a terrible choice for Team USA general manager, and I think he did a pretty bad job at the Four Nations tournament, and he doesn't get that criticism because the team is so talented now that it's really hard to mess it up. You only mess it up in the margins, and I think he messed it up in the margins. So Tage for the Olympic team. That's a goal of his. He went to the World Championships, scored the game-winning goal. Great moment. First time they had won it in 92 years. So really cool. I think it did a lot for him to make the Olympic team. At the moment, there's an extra roster spot at the Olympics as well compared to Four Nations. I would expect Tage to be on the Olympic team. The other goal he set for himself, and this is a little bit of an interesting one. I want to credit Thompson for saying this out loud. Not that he would get criticized for it. It's just not something, especially in hockey. Hockey culture is just so all about the team, never the individual, that when a guy gets asked about his goals for the year, it's always going to be met with, oh, no, my goals, whatever helps the team win. Just whatever cliche you can plug in there. And Thompson got asked about, his individual goals for the season. And I like the way he put it. He wasn't afraid to say it. He's like, he said, his quote was, "You definitely have those subconscious numbers goals. I'd love to hit 50 goals and 100 points. And he followed it up with the right point, which is why you just would never want to criticize a guy for something like that, a goal like that, because what he said was true. He said, if I'm doing those things, we're probably winning. And he's definitely right. If Thompson is scoring 50 goals and 100 points, the Sabres are probably winning hockey games. And he went on to say, he knows it's more important the team having success. And I'm sure if you told him, hey, if you become more of a playmaker and a defensive forward because the other guys are scoring and that helps you make the playoffs, then he would take that. But he also is smart enough to know that he probably has got to score goals on this team because there aren't a lot of other players that are going to do it to the level or even near the level that he can. So I like that goal that he set for himself, 50 goals and 100 points. I think it's very possible that he does it also. He's got to stay healthy, and he hasn't really had a complete healthy season in years. He's played the games, 76 games, 71 games, 78 games, 78 games. are his last 4 seasons. But he's played through injury. He's played through a wrist injury. Remember, he had that one a couple of years ago at the end of the season. Like, he's had a lot of nagging stuff that he's really had to fight through. So to me, for him to accomplish that goal of 50 goals and 100 points, 2 things need to happen. He's got to stay healthy. And 2, whoever he's playing with has really got to meet his level. Because 3 years ago, Jeff Skinner, Alex Tuch, part of why Thompson was able to go 47 goals, 47 assists, where his line mates played up to his standard. Skinner was incredible that year. Tuch was incredible that year. And for Thompson now, if he plays with Tuch, you trust that guy to play up to his level. If Yuri Kulik does, you're hopeful he can, but you're not sure. 24 points last year, you have to be a lot better than that. Zach Benson on the other side, you're hopeful he could play up to Tage's level, but you're not banking on that. You're not sure. Jack Quinn, same thing. Like Josh Norris even is a question. Tuch is the only line mate that you could put with Tage and know like that guy could help Tage get to 50 goals and 100 points and have one of the best lines in hockey. And that's only one guy, and he might not even play with Tage. So you're going to need others to really get in on that. The other thing Tage said was he does not care center or wing. Does not have a preference. He likes some things about center. He likes some things about wing, and that wherever they need him to play, that's what he'll do. So it really feels like it's a Lindy Ruff decision on where he'll play. And what Lindy said is he's going to play the wing. So that's where they're going to start the season. All right, practice number 1 in the books. They'll continue, and we'll see if we get some line combinations in the next couple of days, get our first little taste of what the opening night of the season is going to look like. And, go Bills, right? Go Bills. Keep Bills and Sabre fans, Buffalo sports fans in a good mood heading into Sabre season. That it's probably likely, I would say too. All right, if you want more hockey talk though, Locked On NHL, they got you covered. All this contract stuff around the league and a lot of other stuff as teams get ready for their preseasons. Head out over to Locked On NHL wherever you get your podcast. You can find them on YouTube as well. We'll talk to you tomorrow here on the Locked On Sabres podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.